Hi, this is your Captain Brian Vollmer coming to you from beautiful North Fort Myers. And on today's show, I'm going to give you a synopsis of the Al Harlow video and what you should take from that, because I'm actually learning myself and picking up points for when I write the eventual book about the golden age of the Canadian bar circuit. The first thing that I got from Al's interview was that back in 1965, one-nighters at dance halls, universities, colleges, and that's where bands usually played. And eventually that morphed into bars for a variety of reasons. One reason was that the government dropped the legal drinking age from 21 to 19, even 18 in some provinces. And people that for 2 years have been sneaking into bars suddenly could get in legally. So there was all these people looking to drink, and then bands realized it was a cash cow to put bands in. The number two fact that I gained from Al's interview was that bands back in that time period traveled north and south, not east and west, as we did back in Ontario. And because of that, they picked up the influence of San Francisco, bands like Big Brother and the Holding Company, Country Joe and the Fish, bands like that. And that came through in the music, and it was also a time period where psychedelic drugs were out. So you got a lot of psychedelic music. And when you listen to West Coast music, there's a definite difference from the West Coast to, say, Ontario, where it's more industrial, coming out of places like Hamilton, Toronto, Kingston, all sorts of places like that. Number three, back in 1965 when you joined a band, it wasn't to do cover songs, it was to write your own original music. In fact, Al says that was just part of the gig, writing your own stuff. It wasn't even considered doing cover songs. When you did, it was more as a homage to those bands that you were trying to look up to. So I found that interesting, because other bands like Vern McDonald of Copper Penny said the same thing. They were into writing music, and that was why they got in a band. Whereas later on, say when Helix joined the bar circuit about 1974, our goal was to play cover songs and get on the circuit and do well enough that we could eventually play our own music. So you can see it kind of reversed itself by that time. And lastly, Bruce Allen was very instrumental in developing a formula for rock bands and for putting bands together. For instance, Al says that when he showed up at certain clubs, they actually used to give him a song list of songs to play, which, you know, and that was kind of the death knell for a lot of original music. But later on, Al points out that Prism was a very manufactured band. In fact, their name, while Bruce Allen was putting all this together, was Under Construction, which I thought ironic. And the formula was this: they bring in a hit producer, in the case of Prism, Brian Fairburn, and then they'd bring in the Road Warriors, which was Al and the Seeds of Time, and then they bring in the hit songwriter, which was Jim Vallance. And Jim Vallance wrote a lot of the early Bryan Adams stuff. He wrote What About Love, I think, by heart. Very famous songwriter. So you had all that, and then the next step was to go get the record company. And they knew coming out of the gate that they were going to be successful, because they had all the ingredients of a successful band: producer, and the Road Warrior band, had a songwriter, and management, which was Bruce Allen. And Bruce Allen today still manages Bryan Adams and Loverboy. So all those things I got out of that interview, plus much more, but those were the four main things that I'm going to include in my book. Don't everybody be out there stealing my ideas, okay? I know there's a few of you out there doing the same thing, suddenly switch to talking about bar bands as the focus of your podcast. Listen, don't write off my coattails. Do your own thing, eh? It's always better. Nobody wants an imitator. And this is the original Brian Vollmer coming to you from North Fort Myers, Florida. Lovely down here, 80 degrees today. So I'll catch you on the flip side. Don't be square. See you around. Whoosh.